What's going on, guitar community? It's Henry again, and today I just thought that a lot of music is based on theory, and one of the fundamental aspects of theory, in my opinion, are scales. And so I just thought today, in today's video, I should go over what is a major scale. Just talk about the intervals that make a major scale versus a minor scale or something else. So when I say intervals, on guitar, as it relates to scales, there's two main intervals. There's a whole step, 2 frets up, A sharp, B, it's 2 frets up. Now there's another interval called the half step. That would be just A to A sharp. It's just one fret. So that's 2 frets up, a whole step. Now you have a half step, only 1 fret. So a major scale has its own series of whole steps and half steps. Kind of like every scale. Now, you have a couple exotic scales that have other intervals, like a minor third in between 2 notes, but we're not going to get into exotic scales today. Today, we're just going to do a major scale. So, a major scale, it's its own thing, right? It's known for being the happy scale or whatever. It's supposed to be, I guess, kind of uplifting musically and not as sad or whatever as a minor scale. But, so we're just gonna learn the pattern. I'm gonna pick a root note. Or if you don't know what a root note is the first note of any scale, any key. So we're gonna do A. So the root note of an A major scale will be A. That note right here, the 5th fret of the E, that's an A. You got E, half step F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. Now a major scale, like any scale, is 7 different notes, with the 8th note being an octave. An octave is 12 half steps higher. So it's the same exact note as another note, but it's just, the higher version of the next series of notes. So you have A, and then this is A2, it's an octave higher. So this just sounds similar, but it's an octave higher. So it's got 7 notes, a major scale. First note being the root note, the last note, the 8th note being an octave. But 7 different notes. Let's put it that way. So what have we got here? We've got what makes a major scale. It's its own pattern of half steps and whole steps. So what is the pattern? The way I like to think of it as, it's kind of like a formula, So a major scale equals 2 whole steps plus a half step plus 3 whole steps plus a half step. So I like to group it into 2 parts. It's 2 whole steps and a half step plus 3 whole steps and a half step. And that's the way the major scale. Now, how does that work exactly? That means, how are you going to apply that? So that's the pattern, is that you got 2 whole steps up, then a half step up. But then you have 3 whole steps up, and then a half step up. So how do you apply that? Well, you pick a root note, right? Like A. And then you go 2 whole steps up. A, B, C sharp. But then you go a half step up to D. Now you apply the next part. You go 3 whole steps up. So you got D, then you got E, F sharp, G sharp. Now you go the half step, A. So that was the pattern I just did there. It's whole, half. Now you got 3 whole steps the second time, though, and a half step. So it's 2 whole steps, a half step, then 3 whole steps of half step. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. So you got, so the important thing to do is don't just, the first note of the scale, how I put it this way, the first whole step that you do takes you from the first note to the second note. You still gotta start from the root note. Like you don't start the scale a whole step higher. You gotta start from the root note A, but then after you get the root note, then you count up whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Now to do that, that's kind of self-explanatory, right? You just pick a root note, then you count whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. There's 2 ways you can mentally think about this. In fact, there's a way to think about this in terms of the notes, and there's a way to think about it in terms of fret numbers. Now, I'd say it's much more useful to think about this in terms of the notes, because that'll kind of help you apply this to any area of the neck. So you could do like, you do. Ran out of space. Whatever, I ran out of space there. But, you can see what I mean, right? It's when you memorize it the note way, you can apply it to any area of the neck. It's a little bit more useful. So if you memorize it the note way, you're going, A, B, C sharp. A plus a whole step to B, plus a whole step to C sharp, plus a half step to D, plus a whole step. Now you're going to do 3 whole steps and a half step. So plus a whole step to E, plus a whole step to F sharp, plus a whole step to G sharp, plus a half step to A. So you can count it like the note way, or you could just think in terms of numbers. So a whole step means that what a whole step equates to is 2 fret numbers apart, right? So you can think about it in terms of this way, fret numbers. So if you have the 5th fret, a whole step would be 5 to 7, right? You skip over a number, you go 2 numbers up, 5, 6, 7, then 7, 8, 9. So like what you're doing there is you can think about it the number way and think you're going 5. A whole step is 2 numbers, so 5 to 7. You're going another whole step, so 7 to 9 is, that's a whole step. And a half step is 7 to 10. And a whole step is 10 to 12. And another whole step is 12 to 14. Another whole step is 14 to 16. Another half step is 16 to 17. So you can think about the number way, but then, so it's basically like you're going, starting 5, going 2 numbers apart, 2 numbers apart, 1 number apart, 2 numbers apart, 2 numbers apart, 2 numbers apart, 1 number apart. So you can think about it that way. You think about it whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And you can also at the same time think about it, you're starting from a fret number like 5, you're going 2 numbers apart, 2 numbers apart, 1 number apart, 2 numbers apart, 2 numbers apart, 2 numbers apart, 1 number apart. I just prefer to think about it the note way, where you're going A, whole to B, whole to C sharp, half to D, whole to E, whole to F sharp, whole to G sharp, whole to A. Now there's major scale forms you can use where you have a root note and then you do like a 6-string finger pattern. I mean, I was doing on 1 string, and I think that's easier to visualize and just comprehend. And I think the scale forms, that's a little bit, like, this is more about just a breakdown of what a major scale is. And the scale forms tend to be about where this particular pattern and this particular pattern. I just want to break down what a major scale is, guys. So, now that you guys have that, just practice going. Like, okay, I got my root note, 2 whole steps, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Just do that. Start from a note, go whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And there you guys, you have it. You guys got a major scale. So just practice doing that, and practice saying the notes too. I would recommend knowing your notes on the fretboard. If you guys want me to do a video where I show you guys how to find all the notes on the fretboard, just let me know in the comments. Leave me a comment. And as usual, guys, I hope you guys have fun with this. I hope it helps you. If someone tells you, improvise in a major key, I hope you guys will start going. I hope you guys can use that one string kind of pattern to just help you in your playing, your improvising, whatever. So, practice that. Know a major scale. It's a very important part of guitar, and besides guitar, just music in general. It's a fundamental part of music. And please leave a comment. Subscribe to my channel, Gen Music Guitar Breakdown. And leave a like. Share it with your friends. And always, I hope you guys have a lot of fun playing guitar, because, man, guitar is awesome.